Hello, and welcome to Alternatives Counseling, our second video on Rumble. Today's topic is going to be anxiety. Where does it come from? And we go to the cellular level on this channel. All my research is available at my website at www.alternativescounselingllc.com. So you can look up my references and make a decision for yourself. Today's topic is anxiety. It is probably the most diagnosed mental health issue in America. And we're going to talk about what causes anxiety. I have the research up here on my board. One of the first things that the research shows is fight or flight. And we discussed it a little bit in depression on how fight or flight is initiated when you see something scary or something happens to you that is out of the norm. You go into fight or flight, your adrenaline turns on, your thinking turns off, your digestion turns off, and you're just ready to run like hell or fight like hell. So muscles and oxygen. However, when you leave the movie, it stays in your blood for 90 minutes. So if you have driving down the road and have somebody cut you off, you will already be in fight or flight and you will overreact to the situation. And that's why fight or flight is so bad. It also, fight or flight means there's a lot of cortisol in your blood. And as we all know, cortisol is detrimental to our health. Cortisol is like burning your engine at $7,000 for a long time. I am also going to talk about the Psychosocial pathway. And we've talked a little bit about Dr. Stephanie Sennett from MIT and her 30 years of research. She is the glyphosate doctor, and she has studied glyphosate all over the United States. I actually met her in Kauai, and she talks about how it goes into the water system, water table, and even if you're on a well, you're going to get it. She also talks about what it does to the body, and this is where we talk about the Psychosocial pathway. Now, for many years, Monsanto said that the Psychosocial pathway did not exist in mammals, only in plants. So that when you sprayed this on crops, it only killed the weeds and the bad stuff, the bugs and stuff in the crops. But in 2017, we found out that's not true. The Psychosocial pathway is in all mammals, and it is actually in the pancreas where the healthy flora will produce a healthy bacteria in the gut, and no inflammation, pain. Okay, think about chronic fatigue and some of the other illnesses out there. That's the Psychosocial pathway. Now, the Psychosocial pathway has a direct relationship to sugar, white sugar. We're not talking about healthy sugar like date sugar or turbinado or honey. We're talking about just white granulated sugar here. And what the research shows is that both sugar and glyphosate cause inflammation of the hippocampus in the brain. And the hippocampus is the main control for speech, memory, learning, and retention. So if the hippocampus is being blocked by sugar and glyphosate, speech, memory, retention, learning don't occur, or occur sporadically when the sugar levels and the glyphosate levels drop, and then it doesn't occur when they go back up. So after a good meal of junk food, don't count on having clear thoughts. Insulin malfunction. Sugar and glyphosate create insulin malfunction in the pancreas. And again, this is the Psychosocial pathway. When the insulin malfunction occurs, you get diabetes. So if you are going to eat food that is packaged and preservative, and a lot of high sugar diet like sodas and fruit drinks, then you are going to experience insulin malfunction. Now, that doesn't mean you'll be diagnosed as a diabetic. You can be in the pre-diabetic stage for 10 years before you can become a full-blown diabetic. It depends on your heredity and health and the durability of your pancreas, okay? But eventually you will have the insulin malfunction. Also, and this is what nobody talks about in therapy, sugar increases impulsivity. Now, we can show this in the pathway because, again, if you can't concentrate, if you can't recall information, your decisions are going to be more impulsive. But let's talk about alcohol. Alcohol is fermented sugar. After all, where did it come from? Now, us Native Americans, we know about saccharum. When the Pilgrims first came over, they brought sacks of sugar with them from the hot climates around the equator. And by the time they got to the United States, they had fermented into alcohol, which we call firewater. And the reason we do is because it destroys the pancreas. White sugar, fermented sugar, is the same thing as white sugar, only boosted up a lot, okay, a lot more potent. So you get a bigger surge, a rush, but you also get more pancreatic problems, okay? So insulin malfunction, sugar increases impulsivity. Sugar does not increase hyperactivity. All the research I could find dating up to 2020 shows that it really, no matter how much sugar you feed a little kid, it doesn't increase their energy. It just decreases their focus. And the third thing that I want to talk about today is GABA. And I mentioned it last week when we talked about depression, but GABA is an amino acid that the body does not manufacture unless it has the right nutrients. So for probably 85 to 90% of the population, there's not enough nutrients there to produce this wonderful amino acid that is the calmer of the body. It calms you down. It gets you to focus. It gets you to triage, to focus on the problem, okay? And not to just be emotional. However, it's also used with kids with autism to decrease anxiety. And this is research by Mess 2011 and Steinberger in 2015. So kids with autism have a higher rate of anxiety. And we know that because we can't touch them. It's very difficult to interact with them or get them to stay on a topic. And this is part of that decreasing calmer that helps them to take a deep breath and begin to retain information. And we're going to talk about the hormone that's involved in that. So the next thing is GABA reduces cortisol in the blood. And remember, cortisol is like nitro, okay? If you poured nitro into your car, that's what cortisol is in your blood. You can do it a little bit. You probably won't have a lot of damage, but if you do it a lot, you're going to have damage. And so cortisol comes from fight or flight. And it also comes from bad contaminants, okay, things we need to detox, heavy metals. So cortisol is reduced by GABA. Now, also, GABA is used to reduce the excitability during seizures, and this was by Dr. Wu, 2007. So it's been used for 14 years for seizures in children and adults, so they're not so severe when they have them. They're more petit mal than grand mal. But also, one of the things about GABA that I want to mention is within about 20 to 30 minutes of taking it, the person totally relaxes. It's better than a sleep medication, and it's also better than any anti-anxieties, especially your benzodiazepines and some of the other drugs that are very highly addictive. GABA is not addictive. It's an amino acid found in your body, and it won't hurt you, of course, unless you drink the whole bottle. Now, when you buy GABA, you have to be very careful because a lot of the manufacturers are using synthetic GABA. It doesn't work. It doesn't calm. You have to have the natural organic GABA. And there's a company, I think it's called Source Naturals. You can look at them online. They manufacture GABA in its organic form, and they're not very expensive. I think a bottle is about $35 to $50, and there's probably 300 to 400 capsules in there. It's enough for probably 6 months to a year for one person, okay? So anxiety is caused by fight or flight. It is caused by the bad flora in the stomach, the Chickasate pathway, and it is also enhanced by sugar and made worse because of insulin malfunction, impulsivity. Okay, GABA is a treatment that even a 6-year-old can buy online, and it's used with kids with autism. It's used in people with high blood pressure and a lot of medical things, but using it for mental health, there's a lot of research that it really helps people to stay calm, and it lasts about 24 hours for one capsule, but to stay calm if they're going through a really tumultuous time in their life, okay? And who isn't right now? The last thing I want to talk about for relief from anxiety is exercise. And one of the first research projects I did when I was in grad school was I measured people's depression before and after climbing 6 stories of stairs. It was students. We had to participate in each other's research projects, so I had captive audience here. But anyway, I showed a significant effect of increase in happiness after they climbed the stairs and came back down from the 6-story climb. Exercise, even if you're walking, increases serotonin, your happy chemical. And you can't have enough of that. You know, remember the little cup in your head that's full of serotonin. And if you do alcohol or drugs, it dumps it in, all of it, automatically. And you feel really good temporarily. But then when the alcohol or drugs wear off, you feel worse. And your depressions will get worse and worse if you don't treat them. This is one of the ways of treating addiction is GABA, because you can calm the person down without using synthetic drugs or even marijuana, okay? And exercise too. Exercise increases serotonin. I am available at www.alternativescounselingllc.com if you would like a private session, or if you just want to email me. But if you have any evidence that contradicts what I'm saying, please send it to me. I'm interested, because I am not biased in either direction, and I'm always open to new methods and new ideas. And so if there's something else out there I'm not aware of, I really would appreciate an email. I want to thank you, and if you like this video, please hit the like button. I will be making a video every week. Next week's topic is PTSD. We're going to talk about the causes. No, it's not heavy metals. We're going to talk about PTSD and how a traumatic event stays in your brain, actually for your safety. Because remember the snake, you know, if you saw a rattlesnake, you want to know where he's at, and you don't want to go back there for your safety. So that's why the brain memorizes where it happened and what happened. And if you think of a Vietnam vet, they are highly trained for attack, okay? They react without even being awake. They're so trained. So if somebody comes into the military base, these guys are up, armed, and dressed before they even have their eyes open, right? They're already in fight or flight. And my brother went to Vietnam, and he was in fight or flight even after he came back. Little things would trigger him, like a noise, a shotgun, or a backfiring of a car, or, you know, the normal things that we hear about from Vietnam vets. But he was able to deal with it a lot better using the GABA and being able to sleep at night and rest and relax and turn his body off, turn that fight or flight and that cortisol off, so that his body had a chance to repair. Okay? The body doesn't repair itself unless you have really good deep sleep. Just like the car, you can't work on it unless you turn the key off. So I want to thank you again for spending time with me. And this message is for all of those people who've lost their insurance or who do not want the side effects of pharmaceuticals to please watch and see what's available and share the hope.